Life did not turn out the way it should have for you. After high school, you had such great ambitions. Your wish was to become a doctor, or at least a veterinarian. But after your parents were involved in a horrible accident, you were left without a home or a job. Plus, you were 18 now. Left to fend on your own, you needed to become creative. Quick. There wasn't enough money to get you your dream job anymore, and no home meant that every day became a fight for survival on the non-caring city streets. You had become a victim of circumstance. But what could you do? Having hit rock bottom, you began scavenging. Just Lee has an occasional full belly. But you kept telling yourself, one day you will hit it big. Many times during this period, you had considered ending it. But something, a strange force, kept you from going over the edge. And to this day you are glad you haven't followed through. As during your first homeless winter, something of a Christmas miracle happened. You had gotten a tiny amount of money from a very generous gentleman, and were about to purchase a bottle of alcohol to get you through a snowy night, when a guy with a gun for an arm entered the liquor store, demanding money. The entire situation had escalated, ending with you taken as a hostage. The voice in your head begging you to jump him and risk getting shot. But you didn't, as this weird feeling had made itself known to you again. Like it knew your whole life was about to change for the better. As just when you had lost hope of being rescued, a pro hero showed up. Not just any pro. It was Bakugou Katsuki, the number 3 pro of Japan. He looked so much taller than he did on TV. After the dispatching of the robber, Bakugou had invited you out for lunch. Apparently, it had been normal for him to invite victims of crimes to dinner, be they male or female. In fact, if he saved a child, he would invite the entire family. After a harsh lesson he had learned in high school. Bakugou claimed this was to keep him grounded in reality, to appreciate the smaller things. It had been the first time you had a genuine meal for months. He took pity on you. This may have been morally wrong, but you took this little grain of help with open arms. And now, 2 years later, you are happily married to him. Of course, it was mostly out of desperation. Pride being a luxury you could not afford. It was either this or eventually going back being homeless. So you accepted your new role. Right now you are preparing dinner. A spicy curry. A recipe his mother had given you on your wedding day. He went crazy for it. No special occasion as well, you just felt like you needed to do something nice for him today. Best of all, it wasn't even that time-consuming or complex. With a soft smile, you looked at your watch. 3 a.m. His hero job had thrown any semblance of a normal sleep schedule out of the window. 3 a.m. was essentially your 6 p.m. But he was running late. He'll probably be back any minute now. So he quickly prepared the table and plates, with a generous lion's share for him. Whenever he was running late, something big was happening. And then, you waited. Being determined to not eat anything until he comes home. You hopelessly began stabbing into your own serving. This has happened before, you kept repeating inside your head. After 2 hours had passed, and the first few rays of morning light shot through the living room window, you had finally given up and ate your cold portion, more as an act of defiance rather than actual appetite. You sighed and walked over to the couch and turned on the TV. Some early morning soap opera playing as you slowly dozed off. The clock had turned 6 a.m. when Bakugou finished his paperwork. He knew that you were worried about him. You always were. As soon as he had went on patrol today with his sidekick Red Riot, he stumbled upon a horrifying scene. Through a collection of unfortunate circumstances, he had found himself in the sewers of the Tatooine district, simply looking for a dog of all things. And while searching through the disgusting, moist catacombs of the city, he stumbled upon human remains. A lot of them. Bakugou and Red Riot had discovered the hideout of a serial killer. After notifying the proper channels about his findings, he had retreated back to his agency's headquarters. After locking himself into his office, Bakugou simply broke out into tears, deciding that until he was done feeling like a weak child, he would do his leftover paperwork that had been piling up over the past weeks. And it was 7 a.m. when the noise of keys turning threw you out of your slumber. With a yawn, you raised your head over the couch's back, seeing Bakugou enter. He was slouched, not wearing his hero costume. Instead, he wore a simple black shirt and jeans. He forced a smile. "Mornin'," was all he said. "Food's ready," you said while pointing at the dinner table. You should probably heat it up first." He blinked. "Sorry. No appetite." "Oh," you replied. Something was off. Very off. Not allowing yourself to be disappointed, you got up and followed him into the bathroom. He had already shed his clothes and went under the shower. "What happened?" you asked loud enough for him to hear. "Nothing," he growled back. You crossed your arms. I really shouldn't press him, you thought. But you were worried. At least he was home safe now. Absent-mindedly he reached for the shampoo. It was yours, but you used his often enough as well. For a moment you wondered how this might affect his hair. He didn't speak while the water cascaded over his perfect body. After the shower he immediately dried himself up and went to bed, leaving you mildly perturbed in the hallway. For a moment you stared at your feet, unsure of what to do, before quietly going after him. He was lying on his side on the bed, facing the wall. His eyes were open, unblinking. With a concerned frown, you walked over to your side and climbed up next to him. "Are you okay?" you asked. You immediately wanted to slap yourself. Of course he wasn't okay. "Yeah," he grunted eventually. "Rough day." You rubbed one hand on your chin, thinking. "Rough day," you thought out loud, before coming a little closer to him. "Would sexy time make you feel any better?" You gently stroked through his hair. Not tonight. Message received. Knowing him, he probably wouldn't even want to talk about it. Even though he probably knew full well it would help him. For a moment you wondered how many women, especially wives, would scoff right now and simply leave with an angry whatever. But instead, you gently wrapped yourself around his back, rubbing your hand over his shoulder before pulling the blanket over the both of you. You couldn't see it in the darkness of your bedroom, but he had begun to tear up. Thank you, he mumbled.